so good to see you because it's funny. I was trying to go back and figure it out. It must have been, I know it was definitely before the pandemic, was the
Yeah,
last time I see y'all. So it must have been maybe 2017, 2018,
I think
maybe?
so. It was deeply in my like natural brown hair era, and I've been blue for like a long time now. So yeah, it's a minute ago for sure.
It is so good to see. I got to ask, where is everybody else? And excuse me, from what I've been seeing, featurette I usually, well, the interviews was two people. Why do I
Historically,
see a third person?
yeah, we grew. So actually, it's a cool story. So Mark and John went to high school together. John started the band and then forced me to be the singer of it, and then I forced Mark, who was formerly our producer, to be our guitarist because we wanted more energy up front on stage. And he's been there all along. He's produced every one of our records. So we were like, this is the time for integration. I just literally at gunpoint held him there and was like, you're part of this band now, and now he is.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Let's get to this story
Yeah.
that explains why I haven't heard from you guys in so long. And I was completely shocked by reading this. And one of the things I want to say is, how are you doing physically and mentally as you tell this story?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot. I mean, everybody's gone through things, right? And we keep those people or places to ourselves and we trudge through and swallow stuff down. And I think when COVID hit, it was just such an opportunity for me to like sit with the stillness. And then that stillness became like increasingly loud in my head, so much so that it like took shape. Like this record got created, just to back up, I guess, because I was having a lot of trouble with anxiety due to like actual like lived trauma, lived experiences, things that happened in my life. And it wasn't something I could cope with any longer on my own. I asked my doctor, hey, is there anything you can do for me? Recommend, prescription, humans to talk to. Like, can I get a hand here? And repeatedly I was just met with this, like, you'll be fine. It's just the world we live in kind of situation. And I was not fine. But I think writing it into songs, like treating each person or instance or like pain that I was going through is like encapsulating it fully and telling that story from start to finish. Like I literally put them into pills. I like have these songs now where I'm like, I know what that's about in my life and I can write it out of myself. I know what that's about. I can write it out, that kind of thing.
Is there, and I don't want to categorize it, but I'll ask it this way. What is it like for somebody to go through that knowing that they have to be on stage, they have to be in front of fans, they have to interact with fans, and knowing that you're going through all of this, and it's almost like you have to put on these different masks just to be able to get through these moments and knowing what you're going through.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I think a lot of it wasn't necessarily masking at all. I think it was kind of an unmasking for me. In fact, in Chocolate, that was literally one of the lyrics because it's like, that's the point is that like I'm sort of telling it from a more truthful place now. And I'm able to like some of it is like physical bodily trauma, like you're referring, I'm sure, to Golden Hour and the car accident, trigger warning ahead. Uh, but yeah, that stuff was like an involuntary trauma that was so much less painful than some of the actual traumas that were interpersonal. So for me, a lot of this record is anger, and you don't have to mask anger on stage when you have a sound like we do. Like we just basically the way we play live now, Rudy, I'd love for you to come out and see it. Next show we have in Toronto, I'm inviting you. But the way we play live now, it's like it's a punk act basically. Like we're like just where like the energy is so like kicking down the door. I wear like docks that are past my knees. Like it's so like wild, and I'm doing like high knees the whole time. We're just like energy, 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 and then there are these brief moments of like suspension in the set where you're seeing a bit more of like the human side of the picture, less like just the energy of like anger or that cathartic release. And for me, that's Golden Hour. As per that's why it's the single. It's just such a different side to the record because it's talking about those moments in your mind when you like your whole life flashes before your eyes when you have a near death experience, right? So time for me really slowed down, and the song does exactly that. It's like this whole drawn out, beautiful, suspended thing while the vehicle is flipping upside down, basically, and then like crashes into the ending when you realize that you're alive. So I think at no point was it painful to perform these. In fact, the writing process was so painful that now that they are songs, performing them is such a cathartic release. Like I can't see it any other way now.
So let's go into, if you don't mind, let's go into the accident, which of course inspired this song. What happened?
Yeah, so my grandma, who's not with us anymore, but she was with us then and she did not pass from the accident. So there's no like real, you shouldn't be sobbing at any of this. The end of the story is that it's all good. But the middle of the story was pretty crazy. She had Alzheimer's, dementia, and we didn't know about it at the time. This was the beginning of her 8 year struggle with that. And yeah, we were in a car together. It was her birthday, and I had this weird like this is not like on God or any powers that be. This is not made up. Like this is a real thing that happened. I went to her door for her birthday. I was taking her out, and I was young at the time. I think I was like 16, and I had like just gotten like it couldn't have been 17 or something like that. I had just learned to drive like the year before, and I was like good enough to get us to where we were going for sure. But I just had this weird feeling of like I have to drive today. But it's weird because she's my grandmother. She's like an authority in my life. Why would I be like, give me your keys, old lady? Like that's not what it was. That's not the relationship we had. She was strong and strong-willed and powerful right to the end. But yeah, I just had this weird feeling, and we got in the car, and we were in a rather large intersection in Etobicoke, and like right by Sherway Gardens, and yeah, so that really big intersection there where it has like the advance to turn into the mall, right before you get on the highway. She saw the advance to turn into the mall and mistook that as a green light, and it wasn't a green light for us. We were in like a go straight lane, so she went straight. We were the first in the line, and we got T-boned by another truck. But it was very curious. That day she drove my grandpa's vehicle, who wasn't with us at the time anymore. And that vehicle has a roll bar in it because it's a truck too. It's a Chevy Blazer. And that roll bar like saved my life. Like the car that hit us bent around that. My seat went up and to the side. I broke all my ribs on this side. I had brain damage for years to follow. Like I forgot a bunch of words, and had to recover from that. And it was traumatic. It was a really traumatic event. But um, I guess the end of the story is that what I found in that space in between while we were flipping upside down, and my brain was like, stay awake, stay awake, stay alive, stay alive. And I like saw every beautiful, warm moment of my life. Like I just saw it. It was all just there. It was so easy. I swear it was like a year that we were flipping upside down. Like it was so slow. I lived 1,000 lifetimes in that moment. And then when it was over, like everything just came flooding back. Like holy shit, we made it. Like we're alive. That's so crazy. And that's what the end of the song sort of expresses is that like it's I've left it open ended in the I assume we'll get to the music video, but for the viewer or listener, it's kind of like whether you lived or died. It's like the after party, afterlife kind of thing. Either way.
And we are going to get to the video because I was going to say, is that why the video is so majestic in what we see?
Yeah, so we shot this video in Iceland, which was like the best, most majestic thing I could think of for like liminal space, like I didn't want to shoot it in a studio because we've done some of that before, and I just think you get so much texture with the landscape you can't replace with the studio. and,
Yes.
and I didn't want effects, and I wanted it to be like as real as you could make it, like because it was so real for me. But I had this idea of like setting up parts of a house, like things you might know, like a familiar space, a familiar place that you could like your brain could go to if you're in this trauma, like a safety place, right? So you set up parts of a house, and then increasingly over the course of the video we lose those elements of reality. So at the beginning, you're just sort of like in this warm bed, like physical, like skin on skin, like embrace this kind of feeling for the whole first verse until the chorus. You pull out of the bed, and then it's a drone shot that gets bigger and wider, and you're in a fjord in Iceland because there's no one around, and it's just like this isn't normal. Like this isn't real. Why is the bed in a fjord? And then we set up like a living room on a black sand beach because the living room is like, you see the normal parts of like a chair and a mirror and like a clock and a lamp and curtains, but like there's an iceberg there and like you're dying, like it's just otherworldly. And the best place we could think to do that was Iceland. And then the pinnacle of that video was that we were able to work with Into the Glacier, and they were able to get us access to their ice cave. So we shot a baby rave in the ice cave because when all the fabric of reality is ripped away, afterlife after party, that's ice cave rave for me for sure.
There you go. I love that. We never even mentioned the name of the album and how it sort of represents you guys right now.
Yeah, so this work's called Panic Pills, and the reason for that is what I stated at the beginning, which is like my doctor did not support me in the journey of finding help with like all the anxiety I was having. So I wrote these songs as little capsules to encapsulate what those anxieties were. Yeah. Those are each song is a panic pill. Each song is like a specific instance that was like, those like memes that's like that one time I said that thing in grade 6 and like I only think about that. It's like that, but like for the darkest, most angry moments of my life or the biggest, most traumatic moments of my life that led up to the writing of that album. And then like the choice to confront those things and write them into songs and process them instead of just having them own me and having them keep me down.
I love it. Love it. And you mentioned tour. You guys are going to be doing shows.
Yeah, so we're just finishing a tour actually. Today is our
Okay.
last tour date. So this tour happened. It's called the Till Death Do Us Party Tour. It was with Karis.
Hmm.
It happened all over Ontario, and today is our last date in London. It's the 31st of January, so this might be coming out after that point. But
Right.
it's our yeah, so it's our like sort of album release. But I kind of expect we're going to be playing sometime soon in Toronto to celebrate the album a little bit, but nothing announced just yet. So
I'll definitely be there. Look, I'm so glad we did this interview, not just the fact of getting to see you, but more importantly, talking about, because I know a lot of people probably gone through the same thing. They go to their doctor saying, look, this is what's going on. They're going, don't worry about it. And then they find out later on, oh, geez, now I know what's going on with me.
yeah,
And, they should take more. I get it. You see patient after patient after patient, but come on, each patient needs
yeah.
your,
This could have ruled the rest of my life, like this could
yeah,
have been just like I could have stayed brown hair me forever. And there's nothing wrong with brown hair me. Like she was great too, but I just went through such a shift in identity. I don't feel like I am the person I was before, and not because I divorced it and leaped laterally away from it, but more because I integrated all the things that were on the inside. I've started wearing them on the outside more so that I have more room to put things on the inside that are good again, room for things for me on the inside and not just like crowded with all this like turmoil, right? So yeah, it really changed me making this album. It's funny, the more I talk about it, the more I'm realizing it, and it's happened. The writing started 4 years ago, right? The writing started
yeah.
in 2020, but it's happening to me now. The changes, like I'm reflecting now, and I'm going, wow, like I made a reel the other day because we had sort of an underground album listening party with like 70 of our closest industry friends, family, these kinds of people. And we had it at the studio that we work out of every day in this like underground subterranean like bunker of a basement studio. It's very cool. Had a giant screen up for like a photography massive screen, and we projected the whole thing onto the wall, the music videos and everything that we did for this, and just took everybody through the making of this. But before we did that, the first thing we played was like a 5 minute condensed reel of the last 4 years and what that was and how our team changed and how our look changed and our sound changed. And we grew up differently than I think what we were expecting, but we only sort of realized it in putting all this together. Because you look in the mirror each day and it happens gradually as we age, as we grow, as we transform. And like to see it like in 5 minutes was like, damn, we did the thing. And we did it in Iceland, and we did it in Germany, and we did it in Spain, and we did it all over the world. And it's like it's so cool to see that come together. And now it's just out. It's beautiful.
Survivor. Survivor. So much respect. Love this. Thank you again so much for the interview. And when you do your show in Toronto, I'd love to be down there for it, definitely.
Absolutely. I'll get you an invite.